My story is unfortunately not uncommon. I often wonder, why did it take me so long to actually notice and speak up? Why was I such a coward? How did I build the confidence I have now? Are there others like me? Can I still make a difference? I moved to South Carolina in 2004. I'm not going to lie, visiting a place is one thing, but actually living is somewhere is completely different. I always loved visiting my husband's family during spring and summer. It was cool. When I moved to South Carolina, actually, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I quickly realized that what was normal in Maryland was no way normal in the Deep South. I'm not a fool to say there wasn't any racism in Maryland, but when I moved to South Carolina, it was right in my face and I didn't know how to deal with it. When I first moved to South Carolina, I moved to Camden. I began working in Kershaw County schools. It was a huge difference from working in Baltimore County schools, a few minutes from downtown Baltimore and super close to DC. The schools were predominantly white, and when all the students white, and there were very little students of color. There were not many teachers of color at all either. I remember specifically making friends with the custodians at my first school, and they each commented I was the only white teacher who treated them fairly with respect. I specifically remember the custodian's name was Mr. Tucker. Mr. Tucker was cool. Mr. Tucker told me that I didn't see it, but I sure would. What did he mean by that? He was talking about his experience working and dealing with Caucasian teachers who, in a sense, talked down to him because he was a custodian. I remember being so shocked hearing how a teacher he did work for outside work actually flipped the script on him and blamed him for breaking her own lawnmower, the one he actually repaired for her. Mr. Tucker told me that this teacher actually went down to the district office demanding that he pay for the lawnmower. He even told me that the administration of the school that he worked at frowned upon him working on this teacher's lawnmower and actually encouraged him to pay for a new lawnmower for her. I remember being so shocked that this would even occur and was so sad how they'd been treated differently. At the time, in my Kershaw County School District tenure, I noticed more incidents like this, and this was one of the reasons why I left and moved to Richland 1. Columbia felt more comfortable to me. Richland 1 was sort of like Baltimore, so it felt like a little more like home to me. I was excited to move into the technology educator specialist position, which had me at 8 schools. I remember my director putting me in the Eau Claire cluster, which was predominantly African American. She asked me how I felt about this, and I told her there was no issue at all. On one of the first times at my school, I was asked to work with an ELA teacher, an older white woman who was openly complaining about the students. I asked her to meet me in the library so we could collaborate, and her reply to me was, "I would bring the kids in, but they act like thugs." I remember specifically telling her that she shouldn't be saying things like that about her students, and she reiterated to me that they were thugs, so why not just say it? Her comments disgusted me. I felt shocked that someone who was working with children could actually feel like that. I said nothing to no one about her words for a long time. I felt like a complete coward. Fast forward to a few months later, this same teacher made another disparaging comment about her students. She actually said her students were heading to prison. I'd had enough. I excused myself and went straight to the principal's office to complain to her. I found myself extremely emotional and angry that she felt comfortable to say those things to me just because I assumed I was white just like her. I was shaking and not sure how to express my feelings in a professional manner when all I had was the army brat profanity I was accustomed to. My brain screamed, "WTF?" When my words came out, tears began to roll down my face because of these emotions. The principal came from behind her desk and consoled me with a warm embrace. She told me not to apologize for feeling so hurt or pissed off. She also told me that she knew this teacher really didn't even want to be at the school. She even joked with me that I was the real deal and should serve on hiring committees to see those candidates and would pass the Gardner test. This principal, Miss Page, became my mentor in a sense. She spoke confidence into my heart and mind that my words matter, and I can feel assured that speaking up when I see something would always be backed by her. I ended up finding that she was not the only person who saw my potentials in changing the narrative for positives, especially for our students. Mrs. Page's words were like food for the soul. I had no idea her words would actually help me find my voice. I knew I had a voice, but a lot of times when I would go to speak, nothing would come out. This time it felt different. I felt like I hadn't felt before. It felt like good to express my true feelings and actually be vindicated for feeling them. I started to learn as I went about my daily duties that I could express myself when I saw things or opinions and it would actually be respected and listened to. I felt that this was a changing point in who I was meant to be. I was no longer that shy little girl from Baltimore, Maryland. I was the girl who just happened to be from the north in the very deep south with a voice, and my voice was getting louder. I was growing into my voice to make changes for the better. After this incident, this seemed to move me in speaking up on a variety of different things, such as expressing my opinions about difficult topics such as race, cultural appropriation, and also police brutality. Even in casual conversations of people, when I would talk about where I worked and what I did, when the comments and raising of the eyebrows would occur when I would name my school and its location of population, this was being sensed to motivate me to correct their preconceived notions of what our students were like or destined for in the future. I didn't set out to earn a reputation, but I have now grew into it. In taking Mrs. Page's own words of the Gardner test, I can clearly see very quickly if people are here for the right reasons or reservations of working with students of color. I'm not just setting out to prove I am cool or accepted or appreciated. I'm just being me. I have also been told that the students can definitely tell who cares about them and who they trust. I'm fortunate to be one of those people. I'm not a fool in thinking that I alone can be the change, but it has to start somewhere. People's opinions are very strong, especially in the Deep South. I do feel as a social justice advocate, bringing understanding and listening can help people get educated and possibly reprogram thinking processes and learnings from past wrongdoings is the only way we can learn to move forward. White fragility truly does exist, hence the major pushback against CRT. Yes, it's hard to hear, but how can we move forward if we don't learn from our past? My voice and my actions can lead to others growing into their own advocacy. My experiences have helped me grow in confidence. I'm not a finished piece by no means. My journey isn't complete. My voice isn't finished. My advocacy will continue.